Today's objective is to be able to solve multi-step equations by isolating the variable. However, the variables that we'll be working with today, you will notice that they will have a lot of negative signs with them. So our job today is to figure out how do we solve these equations when they have more negative signs involved. Our steps for solving these equations will still remain the same. We'll still be doing the same exact thing, but we will have to be very careful when using our inverse operations because this time we just won't be subtracting one couple from the other, and we'll be using either addition or subtraction to make sure that our couples are on one side of our equation. So in this example, we have negative 4x minus 11 equals negative x plus 1. The first thing that I'm going to do is first I'm going to look to make sure that in any of my variables there's a coefficient. So I see that negative 4x has its coefficient of negative 4, but I see that negative x is missing its coefficient. And if you remember, anytime you see a variable that doesn't have a coefficient, there's always a coefficient of 1 there. So in this case, the equation that I'm working with is negative 4x minus 11 is equal to negative 1x plus 1. So in order to begin solving this equation, I'm first going to go ahead and box my two couples. Because again, when I'm solving these equations, I want to have just one couple so that I know who my side chick is and what I can begin moving. But in this case, I have two couples. I have the couple of negative 4x and I have the couple of negative 1x. So that now that I know who my two couples are, I can go ahead and start moving one to the other. Now remember, I can't just take my two couples and combine them and put them in whichever side I want. I still have to use my inverse operations to either move this negative 4x over here or move this negative 1x over here. From our previous lesson, we'll know that moving either or will be correct. However, I've suggested that we always begin by moving the smallest couple to the biggest one. So in this case, my smallest couple here is negative 4. Because the more negative a number, the smaller it is. So negative 4 is actually smaller than negative 1. So I'm going to move the negative 4x to the negative 1x. Now the only way that I can move things from one side of my equation to the other is solely by doing the inverse operation. So since this is a negative 4x, the only way that I can move this negative 4x to the other side is by doing the opposite of negative or the opposite of minus, which in this case is addition. So I'm going to go ahead and add 4x on this side, and if we remember, whatever I do to one side of my equation, I must always do it to the other. And we must also remember that we can only add or subtract couples from other couples. So I cannot add this 4x to my 1 in the right hand side, I can only add it down in my other couple over here. So now I can see how things can simplify. When I do negative 4 plus 4, those two things are inverses of each other, so I know that they're going to cancel each other out. I have this negative 11 that I haven't touched, so I'm going to go ahead and bring that down. I'm going to bring down my equal sign, and now I have to see what does negative 1 plus 4 give me. And remember, get used to the idea of using your calculator in order to check what these simple addition and subtraction numbers give you, just because it's very easy to make simple mistakes here. But in my calculator, I'm going to put negative 1 plus 4 just as I see it, the top number and the bottom number. I'm not adding any additional symbols, no extra plus signs, no extra minus signs. And when I do that, that's going to give me positive 3. So negative 1x plus 4x is positive 3x. And then this plus 1 that I have here and I haven't touched, again comes down here. So now I have negative 11 is equal to 3x plus 1. So now that I only have one couple, I'm able to identify who my couple is and who my side chick is in order to start getting the variable by itself. So in this equation, my couple is the positive 3x. And my side chick, remember your side chick is always going to be on the same side of the couple. Okay, it's not on the opposite side, it's always on the same side of the couple because this is the thing that's trying to bother or get in between your couple. So in this case, my side chick is this positive 1 that I have here. So now that I know who my couple and my side chick are, I want to start moving things around. Again, my goal here after I've gotten the couples to one side of my equation is now I want to make sure that this couple is alone. I want everything that's not my couple, but that it's on the same side of my couple, I want that thing that's on the same side of my couple to go to the opposite side. So in this case, I want this positive 1, or my side chick, to go to the other side so that my couple is left alone. Now again, the only way that we can move things from one side of the equation to the other is by using our inverse operations. So since I have a plus 1 here, in order to move it to the other side, I'm going to do the opposite, which is minus 1. And what I do to one side, I must always do to the other. And again, we continue to work our way downwards. So negative 11 minus 1, when I put it in my calculator just like that, negative 11 minus 1, no extra symbols, that's going to give me negative 12. So I have negative 12. I'm going to bring down my equal sign, and I'm going to bring down this 3x that I have over here. Now that my couple is alone, then my last step is to always get the variable by itself to get that x alone. Now remember that our couple is always married to each other. They're being multiplied. So if I want to get rid of it, I'm going to go ahead and divorce my couple by dividing them out. And so I get 1x is equal to negative 4. Now remember, negative 4 is equal to 1x is the exact same thing as 1x is equal to negative 4. And I can take my solution and I can go ahead that it works for my equation. So I have negative 4, parentheses, negative 4 minus 11. And when I plug that into my calculator, that's going to give me a value of 5. And when I check the other side, I have negative 1, parentheses, negative 4, plus 1, which is also giving me a value of 5, which means I've solved my equation correctly. So the only difference between the equations that we'll be solving today and the ones that we solved in our last lessons is that you'll be using you'll be seeing a lot more negative signs. So you want to remember that when you see a negative variable, in order to bring it to the other side, you always have to use your inverse operation, which is addition. So we're not just subtracting couples from couples today, we'll be subtracting and adding them as well. So you want to make sure you check which of those two operations you want to use. And remember, if you can figure out who the smaller couple is, if you can figure out if negative 4 is smaller than negative 1 or vice versa, just pick one and bring one to the other. Either way that you begin solving the equation will be correct as long as you are using your inverse operations.